Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué tal? Hey, how are you? What's cooking?
Hey, not much. I'm putting the extra touches on the last video I just published. And you? What you doing?
Getting off work, returning to my room, looking out the window. The view is spectacular. I'm over North China now. It's near dawn.
And what do you see?
Not much to see right now. Looks like a lot of clouds down there now.
How fast are you moving?
7.9 kilometers a second. Altitude 505 kilometers high. Ship right over the China-Mongolia border now. I see red glow below as the first rays of the sun hit the red Mongolian desert. I see long shadows now over the red rock formations below. My room is to the port side of the ship, port bow. A few hours ago, I could see a thunderstorm over South America, quite violent. Some of the lightning bolts flashed upwards, sprites they are called. Those are spectacular at night. These I saw during the day. They go up into the stratosphere and branch out like an electric tree. Those are only visible from space. The Earth looks small and fragile. I can see the thickness of the atmosphere from here now. It's best at dawn and at dusk as the sun hits it sideways. Just a thin coating of air. It gets transparent and it fuses into the darkness of space. Ship over East Russia now, approaching the Sea of Okhotsk.
Why are you moving? Why not just put the ship on a stationary mode?
We are at a low orbit. To be this low, we need a force to contrast the Earth's gravity. The speed pulls the ship away from Earth to the equivalent to the Earth's gravitational pull on the hull, making an equilibrium. Speed keeps us suspended, countering and neutralizing it.
Incredible. Didn't think of that.
The speed is an exact match to the gravity force upon the ship's hull. Less speed, we will fall. More speed, we will move away from Earth.
And are you just going at random places or are you following a designed route?
No, the ship is moving in an equatorial low orbit. It shifts slightly each circle, making it cover most of the world as it goes, so we can monitor nearly every place from here, having a possible flyby over every location eventually, even if it may be a few weeks. Ship's orbit is by design, and the one who does this is Eridania Yelena. Ship over the Bering Sea now, plain daylight now. Every 42 minutes I can see dawn or dusk.
Oh, I just got teary realizing you are so close.
We are real. We are tired of saying so.
I know. And now so close.
Just south of Aleutian Islands now. Over North Pacific. Yes, we've never been so physically close to you as we are now. Just a few miles, that's all. Nice sunny day here now. I can see the sun reflecting on the ocean now. I can see Alaska from here, the closest clouds, and the white extension of the North Polar region. We are visible to the naked eye as a moving, very bright star, fast moving. Over central North Pacific Ocean now. All I see is water in sunlight, and the polar cap falling away behind the horizon. And yes, the Earth is most definitely round. We are just above the ISS. Can the astronauts see us from there? Oh, they could if there were any astronauts. They are lying to you. That thing, the ISS, is an empty, useless, lifeless can.
What is it doing there then, for real?
It was used in the past. It's been empty for a number of years. The rest, and all they are giving the people, is nothing but theater. It's filmed on Earth using a green screen and wires to simulate the astronauts being in zero-G. The women's hair sticking out like electrocuted. That's funny and stupid as can be. Long hair does not react like that in zero-G. It moves like underwater. Naturally, it flows with your movements, with a lot of grace.
But isn't this dangerous? Those people could tell at some point.
No, the people cannot tell, and the ones that do tell are not believed. There are many yelling this out, and they are met with disbelief.
But what's the point really for the Cabal to be setting up all this theater?
There is a good point. To keep the people thinking there is a space program. To justify millions used on other things. It's simply more Matrix. Part of the Matrix. Part of the game. Just one more hoax necessary to keep up the illusion.
That makes sense. About justifying the money spent elsewhere, yes. It's incredible how much you know about us. More than me being inside.
We know more about humans than humans do about themselves. Even I do, let alone Svaru.
Yes, it's remarkable.
Ship exactly over midpoint between Hawaii and Los Angeles, heading 075 grades southeast. Now I can see clearly. I am over the Pacific, some 3,000 kilometers west of Acapulco, Mexico. I almost can count all the hats in the beaches. Ship approaching the Terminator again, soon into darkness. You have stayed on a line with me now, one whole day in space. Seriously, this is what it lasts. No night here yet, though.
And what do stars look like from there?
Stars from here, no words suffice. You can see millions and millions, the Milky Way, the constellations and all, with clear perfection, nebula and far galaxies like M33. Andromeda seen as a little luminous cloud. Now you have been here with me for a whole day, dawn to dusk. Over Easter Islands now, moving towards Chile.
Okay, Anneka, first question. Let's start with the most basic one. Tell us a little about yourself. How are you physically? How old you are, etc.
My full name is Anéeka of Temmer, because I was born on the planet Temmer Taygeta in M45, on Toleka Island, in the capital city of the Taygetean civilization of the same name. I am capital city girl, meaning I was born in the largest city of Taygeta, cosmopolitan, the opposite of Svaru, who was born in the mountains of Erra, far from everything. I did not. I was born between technology and a lot of population. I am quite a tall girl, even by Taygeta standards. I am 190 centimeters tall. I have no idea how much I weigh, but I am very long and thin, like a cricket. How old are you? On December 21st, I will be 23 years old.
Okay. Do you have brothers?
I have only one brother. It's Kalel.
So you are 22 and a half years old. What were you doing in Temmer before coming here?
Just study in Temmer. Generalized study of all subjects. To then enter the flight academy. I'm not a pilot, but you still have to go through the flight academy if you want to be an astronaut. In other words, traveling in a ship and being part of exploration expeditions. Only that. And I dedicated myself to enjoying my house next to the beach.
In this flight academy, even if it's not to be a pilot later, do you have to learn to fly?
You only learn to pilot ships as in theory and simulators, but yes, Everyone learns to fly ships. But it is what happens with everything in a holographic society. Everything possible should be learned, and you never stop learning.
What subjects did you like to study the most? What were you passionate about? Relations between species, exopolitics,
General history. On the side, artificial intelligence systems.
Okay. How old were you when you decided to come to Earth orbit?
I was 18 years old.
Relations between species, exopolitics, general history, on the side, artificial intelligence systems. These things are studied purely at the academy, or can you study on your own?
You can study everything on your own. Everything is like that in Taygeta. You have the facility to access the files
Of the entire civilization and those of the Federation from your home holographic computer.
You just have to apply yourself to what you want to know or study. Everything is yours, all the subjects, history and records.
Nice. So at 18, you decided to come here. What inspired you to come to orbit? Why did you want to come?
What inspired me is that my brother did the same, and it was only logical that I came for him, to be with him since he is my only family. Also to help, of course, but the real motivation was my brother.
Did he come here first?
Yes, he came first. He is older than me, my brother, Dor Kalel.
And you mentioned that you wanted to help too. Why did you want to help? With what exactly?
With the ascension of planet Earth,
seeing everything from the orbit. What was your first impression when you came here? How did you spend your first months?
My first months were inside or participating in an ongoing program at the time called First Contact, where we were supposed to openly flood the social networks. About 500 people from Taygeta, openly saying that we are not human. The first thing I did was reach out to Earth people within social media on the internet. But I did so with little or no knowledge of how humans would react. In a few weeks or days, less than 2 weeks, I already had a first strong encounter with a very resentful man who accused me and my colleagues of being a fraud. And I did not understand why he said that, only because of a confusion between the names Semiase of Era and Semiase of Temmer. That is the same person, only depending on where she was living at the time. This is very common. My first months were of a feeling of longing for my world, because I could see it through the window, M45, like very distant stars, and yes, it induces a certain despair, as well as a feeling of vulnerability, depending on a ship for everything. Yes, I accept having had a crisis of wanting to go home. Episodes, some of which I shared on social networks, in the late G+, specifically, where I also managed to find quite a few friends.
Wow, okay. Thanks for the extensive response. I imagine you feel already better in the sense of not longing for your home so much. Have you adapted more?
You're welcome. Yes, I have adapted much more to life on the ship. The feeling of vulnerability has been replaced by a feeling of being able to achieve anything, to be in control. I feel good here, and the ship has become my home and my city because it is big. I have never lived in a small ship like Svaru. I've always been on board big ships called motherships, like this one.
I remember one time you said you got dizzy looking out the window when the ship was not straight. Is that so?
I still get dizzy, but it's part of being here. And it is because from this height, the depth is highly appreciated. You can see the details below, between the clouds. Yes, it makes you dizzy, especially when the image is on the side, because the ship does not orbit with the bottom towards the Earth, but on the port side left. So when I look through my port side window, what I see is the Earth below.
It has to be incredible. Now, back to the Earth ascension. And what is said about this event of the Earth ascension among the normal citizens in Taygeta? Are you interested in what happens here?
A lot of different things happen in many worlds. It becomes overwhelming. So not everyone knows what is happening on Earth.
Isn't there a lot of talk about Earth in Taygeta among citizens?
Generalizing, you don't talk much. It's my perception. It is far away and they have their mind on other things. Not everyone in Taygeta knows that there is something that is even called Earth. It's true. How many people know of the problem in the indigenous towns of Namibia and their fight to survive without water?
I understand. Okay. Next question. What is your work and contribution on the ship?
My role is officer and intelligence analyst. The ship is under military control and movement. This is the flagship of Taygeta's fleet. But as the society is holographic, civil and military representatives are equally in command of the ship. Naishara Alenim on the civil side.
Let's go back to your role on the ship. Tell us a little more about your role, please. And what do you do all day performing this function?
My role on the ship is to be the director or head of a small team that scrutinizes both social networks and all communications between transport media, military and confidential transmissions at the government level, police departments, fire departments, emergencies and rescue. Monitor transmissions between aircraft in flight and their bases or control towers, civil or military. Follow and listen to the communications between sea ships, submarines. Track and monitor transmissions between orbiting satellites. Monitor the internet in general, including the dark web. Filter everything through probability-based quantum functioning holographic computers within a potential energy field, capable of sorting, filtering, and processing over 1,000 million terabytes per second or more. Follow social media, filtering everything on the computer to obtain metadata that in turn are passed to people in command positions of the ship for subsequent decision-making based on these data. Metadata is linked to statistics. They are statistical data, but not only that. Metadata as such can also be analyzed with logical algorithms. But there is something else. These high artificial intelligence computers can analyze it from the point of view of emotional or visceral reactions of a human population. We do not depend on pure logic as understood on Earth. We proceed with another logic based on what we have learned about human reactions depending on the population group we are talking about.
Wow, incredible and nothing easy. What do you do on the ship when you are not working?
Here, when I am resting, I like to chat with my friends. When alone, I like to spend time in total immersion games. I also like to study the culture of the Earth, and I like to listen to and understand its music. As a sport, I like modern dance. Being that I am here, I like the music of the Earth especially, since it is where my attention is now. I have dedicated myself to learning and practicing shuffle dance with light shoes on. There is no law that prevents a genuine extraterrestrial from wearing light shoes and enjoying it. Leave your old concepts behind. I consider myself very spiritual, and I like to learn about that, my own evolution as a soul and person. It is one of my main interests, but it is something as part of who I am and not as something external to me as a hobby. It is not easy to be there on board. There is a lot of work and always so much pressure. What motivates you to keep going? Do you like what you do? I really like what I do, and I feel very motivated.
Yes, it is a high-stress environment, and it takes a strong heart to keep going many times. I don't want to leave anything half done, and I know that I can do the job. I know I make a difference from here. What my team obtains in relation to information and metadata is handled with highest possible ethics. And it is also shared, if necessary, with other races, whether or not they are part of the Federation. And what do you think of the affairs on Earth? About humans in general? Very complicated answer. The humanity cannot be defined as a whole, because if you asked me, I have to accept that I only see a complete disaster. But this answer is not fair. There are many humanities here, many different groups, and I do see and understand many positive people. I understand what happens, and I understand why. But in general, objectively, and it is the truth about my opinion, yes, I feel that they need a long time of evolution in matters of ethics, values, and consciousness in general. But this generalizing, because as I said above, it cannot be generalized, nor in social groups, much less in people. I have found very beautiful people there. I only resent not having more time to be with my friends there. But the truth is that these computers are highly toxic for us here. Being that it is impractical to try to link Taygeta computer technology with the primitive human devices, comparable to an average person using a computer on Earth having to pass on to another population or culture several large encyclopedias using only one telegraph. The truth is that I want it or not, these are the contact rules, strictly by keyboard only. I do not make the rules. This comes from even higher than the command and control crew of the ship. They are directives of the Federation, and they are there for a reason. I personally do not agree, because they generalize a lot. It shouldn't be that way with everyone. But that's how it is. And this is what we have, for better or for worse. I just appreciate that I can type very fast. But personally, I do not agree with these contact rules. And if it were your decision, how would you approach humans? How would your contact be? Straight down with the ships, or maybe you mean the video connection? I fully understand the reason for these restrictions, and partly accept that they are logical. But what I would change would be being able to approach a small and controlled group of people who are already more than ready to have a more direct contact. Although it is not yet possible to be face-to-face, perhaps, but with the use of full video calls, image, and solid. In itself, this would be the next step to continue with the already cancelled First Contact program. Already cancelled, but continues on a small scale, because right now there are fewer than 20 Taygeta people who could actually converse or chat with someone from Earth, as the actual contact group can be counted on the fingers of your hands. More than anything, I mean video connection. Going down is dangerous for us. Okay, I would like to ask you, what do you like most about culture on Earth? Art and music. Can you be more specific, please? What type of art and music do you enjoy the most? Give us some examples, maybe. What have you recently discovered? That they can handle multiple types of music equally. That they can be creative with sounds that way. Art, more than anything, is what calls me most of humanity. Their power to create paintings and sculptures. But I see art in everything they do. From a car with exact shapes and lines to home design and architecture in general. That they can take a small thing, trash maybe, and turn it into something nice, worthy of a museum. Yes, I also really like this about the people here. But with this you mean then that in Taygeta there is less art, or maybe it is more uniform, for being just one race, and there are mixtures here. It is more uniform in Taygeta. On Earth, there are many contrasts because it is a mixture of many races there, yes? There is more variety on Earth, variety of everything. People from Taygeta have access to Earth music, for example. Yes, they have access to everything on the records. Yes, they have access. And yes, terrestrial art is heard or seen, but it is buried between art and sounds from other places. The fact that the Taygeta population has access to information does not mean that they pay due attention to it. On YouTube, you will have access to any topic. It is there. But if you don't look for it, you don't even know that it exists, for example. I would like to ask, do you think you will be here until the liberation of Earth? Although this is subjective, because the liberation, from what I understand, will not be a single event. And there are variants here and timelines. But generalizing, what would you say? I can't anticipate how much Earth time will pass before that happens. I can only say that I will be here as long as I can. From an objective point of view, it is already fair for me to retire to make my life at home. And what will you do when you are back? Do you have other ambitions, plans, dreams? Not at the moment. Only one. To be truly at peace with time for myself. In my house by the beach, surrounded by my family. It's your first expedition, yes? Yes, it is my first and quite possibly my only deep space expedition far from home. But when you were resting in Temmer, we were told that you really wanted to come back. Maybe it is a little addictive to be on expeditions, quite full of adrenaline. It can be. But my desire to return is more to finish well what I started, supporting my family here on the ship, so we can all go home together. If someone else in my family is still working here, away from home, I will also stay until we can all retire. I understand. And how is your relationship with other races? Do you have friends among them? Inside and outside Pleiades? I make friends very easily, but at the moment, due to the nature of my work on this ship, I have no friendships from other races. Only with the human Suriko. And do you remember your past lives? Were you always Taygetan? No one has always been of one race, but in general, it could be said that I have been always a Taygetan. Perhaps because the last incarnation, to put it one way or another, was trying to enter Earth 3D as a starseed. So I personally have little memory of past lives. Contrary to Svaru, who remembers like 20 or more. I mostly have no memory of past lives like other Taygetans. I insist that it has to do with that I tried to enter 3D. I have memories, but they are not precise. Okay, now back to Earth and the Cabal. What, in your opinion, is necessary still to remove it from the Earth's surface completely, looking from your perspective? The very people, ordinary people, must realize that it depends on themselves, no one else. The more people turn their backs on 5G mobiles, eating GMOs, and generally following what is ordered by those in power, they will be able to eradicate the Cabal faster. What a single person manages to do is not a small thing. They can see a big change only if they refuse small things, like using bank loans or generating debt. To eat processed things, not to enter political games that are only fronts and distractions, so that ordinary people cannot see the true power structure of Earth. I understand. This ties in with my next question, which you may have already answered then. What do people need to do to get out of the Matrix? And I ask you as an expert on the operation of the Matrix. Knowing how it works, what should they do to reprogram it? Understand the Matrix and begin to form your own judgment on profound things.
do not depend on authorities external to themselves. Realize that everything socially accepted is what fuels the matrix. Seek your own truth. Have independence of thought. Get away from everything that is an institution, be it a company, government, or religion.
Very well, I understand. Thank you. I have last question, Anneka, and Robert, you can include your questions if you want. My last question is somewhat fun. You have a lot of cats on board. Do they fulfill any specific function, or are they pure company as pets and friends? And also, do they communicate with you telepathically?
Yes, we have many cats on board. They adapt well to life on a ship. They are types of pets. Their function is only company and for their esoteric and mental capacities. But they are pets. Yes, we communicate telepathically with them, but from what I have seen, they are still cats, and sometimes they ignore.
Asks Robert. What surprised you the most when you came to Earth, both about the planet and those who inhabit it?
What surprised me the most was the high level of disconnection with the source of the population. That they had no idea who they are or where. That they believe in ideas imposed by religions with the aim to control them, including the religion of science. For example, their belief in death as the destruction of the self.
Asks Robert. Okay, another question. Has contact with humans made you change any preconceived stereotypes?
In truth, no. How they were interpreted when I studied them is quite accurate. I knew that it does not depend, or my opinion may depend only on generalizations.
Asks Robert. What thought comes to your mind, if there is any, to see that artificial satellite that is limiting the perception of all its inhabitants and prevents many from escaping from this planet?
It makes me want to kick that metallic ball.
Asks Robert. Okay, and my last question, because I had nothing prepared. Did you ever think that you would have such an active role with the planetary ascension of Earth?
No, it only happened when I got here. Little by little, things started happening. When I started, or when I got here, I was only a cadet, to call it in some way, with my job of just being present on the social media in the First Contact program. And today, I am the ship's CIC Intelligence Director.
Asks Robert. I have one more question. How do you think massive contact with humanity could be, if it happens?
In my opinion, the massive contact is already taking place. It will only increase in the same way that has been given until now. More and more forcing governments to gradually accept our presence here. They will do damage control, they will discredit, they will give accepted silly explanations. They will impose their limited science. But in itself, as our presence increases more and more, it will reach a breaking point, and it will be impossible to deny our presence and existence. According to my metadata and my personal opinion, this is how mass contact will occur.
Comments Robert. Thank you very much. Super, very good. Great final answer. Thank you.
You are welcome. Okay, now I have to go. They called me. Talk to you soon.